So, like, half of the discussion about this topic is just sociologists looking at this phenomenon and being like, why? Why was everyone so violent for 30 years? And there's all these theories about, like, oh, it's in England, and England lost their great empire. So people must be upset. They're upset the empire's gone. And there's all these theories around these that none of them really seem like they stick out to me. But my conclusion finishing this book was just like, okay, people in England had lead poisoning until like the 1990s.
I was going to bring up lead crime theory. It explains everything.
I mean, that's when our crime also dropped off, completely unrelated to football clubs or political violence that way. And I mean, the stuff in here is crazy. They have this one excerpt. I'm talking about Among the Thugs again. He's following this guy around who like used to be like a real like soccer fanatic and was with all the lads and stuff. But then he like settled down and got a family. And then one day when he turned 25, he developed like a split personality where whenever he saw someone who was like being agitative towards him, he would beat them unconscious and then light the building around them on fire.
Oh yeah, that happens, man. Every nearly that's the 25 split personality disorder phase in England. That's what we all get that. We all get that. It's just one of those phases you go through where you just feel like randomly beating people up.
Yeah, it's just like getting really into how
it's like going through puberty for England. It's just basically second puberty.
They call it the beautiful game. Yeah, and then that little segment ends because he goes to jail after he gets in a fight. Like these cops are having a birthday party at a bar, and his friend who's in National Front, which is the English fascist party, like gets insulted by them, and he drags his psycho buddy with the split personality back to the bar, and then he beats a cop unconscious, sucks the eyeball out of his head, and like bites it, and then burns the building to the ground, and then they like come find him after because they're like, "We're police, you can't." Can't do that.
An insane move to suck the eyeball out of someone's head. I never even thought of that.
It's got a powerful suction motion as well. How powerful is the suction motion if he can actually suck it out of an eyeball out of someone's head? That's like held in there by quite strong muscles.
He had broken his like skull with a headbutt first or something.
All right.
Just extremely irrational behavior is my point, and I think it's lead. It's got to be lead.
Can you imagine what it would feel like if you're the guy doing it? Because it would have to be like a Jello shot, right? You get it like out of the fucking cup, and you're like licking the.
It would still be attached. It would definitely still be attached to his. You wouldn't be able to sever the eye socket, so you just have an eye socket just still dangling out of the guy's head.
And then the guy would be able to see inside of the other guy's mouth, like a fucking dental camera.
You'd be able to see all the beer swirling around as he takes the eye shot.
Incredible.
It really puts you in the position of being the Jello shot.
Yeah.
But I guess the only thing complicating the lead theory, right, is so I started reading about this a little bit, and apparently this is also right now, or in the last 5 years, like a really big phenomenon in Russian football. And that like they have this whole inferiority complex with like English hooligans where they'll show up at international games and then like stab everybody to prove that Russians are psycho or whatever.
Yeah, I think Russians are just generally harder cunts, unfortunately. Like I think there was the last national tournament, I can't remember, not the Euros, but the one before, because the Euros were split across a couple of countries, but I think the one before was in Russia. Or there was one quite recently that was in Russia. And I think there was a whole thing about the Russian team doing really well because they were basically on doping. Like all of their players had somehow managed to run incredibly fast and far for their only time in their whole career. But then basically, I think as it was in Russia, they just got away with it. But all of the English fans, now all the hooligans, obviously, that were active in the 80s and 70s are all fat old cunts with beer bellies. So they go over there, thinking, we're the hardest cunts. But you go to Russia, man, these guys are just fucking genuinely hard cunts. They're like born and raised in like an MMA cage, basically. So it's like you just don't really want to fuck with those kind of hooligans. And like, apparently we just got the shit kicked out of us repeatedly. Like I think English fans just took a battering every time there was any kind of confrontation with Russian fans. So there's some people that are like, oh yeah, we're trying to prove ourselves to like English fans for some reason, but then some countries genuinely are just harder, and you just got to take the loss, I think.
I mean, this is mostly an American audience, but just so you understand what we're talking about here, it's not like random folks gathering outside a game. This is like buses full of like armed hooligans pulling up on each other and then hopping out with knives and just going crazy.
They'd like meet up specifically. They'd be like, right, we're going to meet up outside the stadium. Or usually like back in the day, I guess they'd be like, we're meeting in a remote spot where the police wouldn't arrive, like in under a bridge or, you know, somewhere kind of remote but near the stadium. There's a famous kind of like walkway. There's a famous kind of pathway near, I think, the Millwall Stadium, where it's like a really, really dodgy set of fucking like narrow alleyways, basically. And it's literally just like you get caught down there and you're a away fan and you're just fucked. Like even now, it's like you just get down there and if you're a away fan, you're wearing any away colours, you're fucked. It's just like, yeah, that's the kind of thing where they're just small secret locations where somehow loads of like beer belly men can just go and have a nice little fight in peace and quiet.
The Russian clubs apparently train, which is funny because they're like fans of a game, but they're training to fight for it. Where they meet in the forest and practice their ancient Russian tradition known as Stenka na Stenku, where gangs of topless men have at each other in a like practice fight to the death, which is cool because it showed up on the last season of an anime I watched where they had to fight a bunch of Russians, and I was like, oh, that's what that's from in real life. That's pretty cool.
Thank God, no, Stanku, indeed. I bet it smelled crazy in there.